Hi guys, hi, this is Oyen. Um, right, so I'm making this video particularly for James and Hamed, Carol, and Allison. I think the rest of you, I have made individual videos for your work, but you can watch this as well. It sort of still summarizes the whole thing, so I will be sending it to all of you. Right, so here is your this is the document that all the work I've been telling you to do via the spreadsheets really comes down to. This is where it boils into, this document that we have here. So I sent you some spreadsheets some time ago and you were filling in and collecting information for. That's all well and good. All of that links and connects to this document, right? So let's just kind of go through this document very quickly. It's pretty straightforward. Now, if you see here, this document, I'm going to try and keep this under 10 minutes. This document has a list of, I'm sending it to you, of course, of what it is, what the knowledge requirements are, what the skill requirements are, and what the behavior requirements are. And we need evidence pieces for this, fundamentally. And that's what you've been doing already, collecting these pieces of evidence. And a lot of this evidence can overlap. That's fine. It's not a problem. So let's kind of carry on and quickly go through what we're talking about here. I'm just using augurs, for example. You don't have to, I'm not too bothered about what you put in here just yet. It's about getting straight to the collecting the evidence pieces. Right, so all I really need you to do, so this is how each of these look, right? It'll have a number, it'll tell you what it wants. So for example, business awareness, okay, 1.1, describe that. And then you have 1.2, describe that. Now, for now, ignore the 3 evidence boxes, just for now, and you'll see how that fits in. But the key point is for each, for each main skill, you have about 3. It's broken down into 3 parts: 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. And I'm just going to use that as my way of explaining what they want here. If you keep on scrolling, you have 2.1, 2.2, right? Okay. So let me go to a PowerPoint to sort of explain where I'm going with this. Right. So when we started this program, imagine when you first started, when we first started this program, I came to you saying that I want you to keep some evidence. And so I remember, I'll just do this again. So imagine after 6 months. All right. Okay, oops, sorry. Let me just get my pen. Alright, I'll just do that. So imagine after 6 months, I came to you and I would have said to you, after 6 months, I wanted some evidence. Remember that? Right. So think of that as a level 1. And after, say, 9 months, I was sort of chasing you up for some more evidence. Think of that as level 2. And at the end of a year, pretty much, I would want some more evidence. Just call that 12 months, right? Level 3. Now, I've asked you to sort of use that template as your guide. So imagine you're using one template, the templates I've just shown you, with the knowledge, skill, blah, 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 all of that for each of these. Let's just pretend. So imagine you fill that in, so you have your knowledge and your skills and your behaviors, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. And imagine doing that for every single whenever you're collecting your evidence, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and the same thing, right? Now that's kind of what I told you to do, because in that way you were just getting on with your studies and just collecting your information. Now, if you notice, 1.1 here is just a mini version, or if you like, this 1.1 and this 1.1 is an evolved, much more improved growth version of this 1.1, and this 1.1 is a growth version of this 1.1. So you're really starting off here after 6 months. You're saying, this is the piece of evidence I've collected. I did a little bit of analysis. Or if it was 4.1, 4.1 is an analysis. So imagine all the 4.1s across the board. So you can see that ultimately, you can probably start to get the picture, is that the examiner is looking for growth along each of these ultimately. But it doesn't have to be prescriptive. So don't be about, oh, it has to be exactly what it is. No, just write about it. If you're writing about it like this, when it comes to joining everything up, it starts to join up. So by answering those questions, as you go along in your first 6 months, you answer all your questions, and then you do the same thing after 9 months, and then you do the same thing after 12 months. You would have collected pieces of evidence right across these at these junctions, if you like. So what our goal is ultimately is to now finally, and I've asked you to use those spreadsheets, not the spreadsheets, the template. I sort of started off with spreadsheets and then told you to move on to the templates. Where we're trying to really get to is to a report. We're going to end up writing a report, and in that report you will start off with maybe the first skill was business awareness, and you will now write. So say for example you've called this R1, and you've called this R2, and you've called this R3, and you've gone all the way to R10, for example, and you call this R11, R12, and you've gone all the way down to R20, and then you call this R21, right, to R30, right? Whoops, sorry, go again. So ultimately, when you write about business awareness is really R1, R11, and R21, right? So you're really writing about business awareness. You're saying, oh, I started off R1, here's the evidence, not very good, but then I got better, and here's R11, and then I got even better, and here's R21 to show that. Then you write the next skill, and then you talk about that. And then you then talk, oh, I started off R2, then I got better R12, and then I got better R21. So really, it's the report we're interested in, but for this report to make any sense, it must be based on these pieces, if you like, of supporting evidence. So let's go and look at what a colleague of yours at level 4 has done to kind of guide you, so you can sort of see where I'm going. And I'm going to use a colleague of yours, and her name is Alice. And here is Alice's work. So this is Alice's sort of template. So you see what it really looks like in the end. So here is Alice's written statement. And so they had analysis 1.1. This is what it was, and she says, early on, I'm going to send this to you guys as well. Early on in my apprenticeship, I had to do this, do this, do this. And then I got better, and then she had R2. So you technically don't need an R, but it's good if you do, because it means you can write about your work. You can show that expanse and that growth, right? And then you have 1.2, and she does the same thing again. And then sometimes it overlaps, and then she talks about that early on. You can see the key point here is early on. She's showing the growth as we go along, right? And then you look at that's the next skill. For you guys, it's different. I think you have some knowledge, and then you have some skills, and then you have behavior. Key point is that we're showing growth and backing it by evidence. Right, now let's look at what Alice's template looks like. This is what her template now eventually looks like. You can see that it looks like this, because ultimately we don't really write anything in here. It's just the reference pieces, right? It's saying, oh, R1, R2. That's the 1.1 she's talked about in her report. Those are the references. And she's just kept a folder that looks like this. You can see that's all the R's, everything in one big folder. And that's kind of those are her comments that we're just reading, and that's the template that we've been talking about, the R1 and all that. Now there's a little thing here about management comments and feedback, but don't worry about that for now. Your aim is to get these comments and this template sort of together, and then have this. So this is our end goal, but there's no need to rush. We just have to do things slowly. What we need to do is be collecting the evidence. I suspect most of you now are collecting evidences. I know many of you have done this one and this one. Probably this is just the last bit now that we need to collect. And then I get a chance to read it and look at your work, and then see whether we need to add in pieces of evidence here and there. So I'm going to send all of this to you. Good, under 10 minutes. And so please, if you have any questions, James, if you speak to David and I can always talk, or you can email me directly. But hopefully you now have some very clear direction on how we want this collected. Right? So the sooner we kick on, remember you have alternate days. When you're not at college on Fridays, we should be trying to collect all of this and get this written up so we have it ready to upload by the time you're doing your synoptic exams. Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you, and hopefully you'll be hearing from me soon.